pop in because I just finished up my day of seeing clients, and I am very aware of the pattern that's here, which is people feeling so very, very full with everything that's happening right now. There is a lot of really big stuff happening for so many of us, and that can be personally, that can be externally, bones breaking, computers fritzing, dogs eating stuff, like all sorts of big, big things are happening right now externally, but there's also a lot of movement happening emotionally and internally as well. And so, what I found has been helpful today, from talking to people personally and professionally, is one, simply stopping and acknowledging, like, really literally with me right now, like, take a deep breath or two or three into your belly and just take a moment to take stock and just really acknowledge, wow, this is all that I'm holding. This is all that's in the sphere. This is what's happening around me. And just let it, just notice what happens. Just keep breathing as I'm talking. Just notice what happens in your system when you actually just start acknowledging. So many of us have been programmed to distance ourselves from what we perceive as hard things. And so then we get more and more and more contracted as we try to brace ourselves against the thing, or defend ourselves against the thing, or protect ourselves, or run for the hills against whatever the perceived difficulty is. And so if we can really slow down and just consciously acknowledge what's here, that can be the step one in changing our reactions and our responses to what's here. And I just had a great client of mine sitting with me, and she asked, because she has a productive part, like so many of us do, like, well, what is the point of that, right? What's the end game? If I can't fix it, analyze it, solve it, make it change, make it stop, then that doesn't make any sense to me. And so it's true. I just want to acknowledge that too, that we have this productive analyzer, fixer part of us. Many of us, most of us do. That's very brain mind oriented. And so when we stop and slow down and take a breath and become consciously aware of what's here, it can really trigger that mind part. Like, I don't have time to breathe. And what is the point of being with it? It's not going to change anything. And so, my answer to her is the same answer that I'll share with you right now, which is the point is allowing us to be with what's here in more neutrality, and to not carry so much charge, emotionally, around what's here, or even if there is emotional charge, that we can be with those emotions in a very present sort of way, rather, and really choose to deepen into them, rather than spending so much of our vital energy pushing against and resisting what's here, because that's really what causes the suffering. That's what causes the overwhelm. That's what causes the deep fatigue that so many of us are feeling, is because we're using so much of our vital force in trying to get away from the thing, rather than softening the belly, using the breath, and bringing whatever is here up into our consciousness. And then she asked me another question about, like, well, some things I can really just let go, it's not a big deal, and other things I'm really like getting attached to my expectation or my point of view around how things will go. And so the invitation that I offered her is the same one I'm going to offer you right now, which is, when we are getting stuck in a pattern or an expectation or a thought form, that's a really good opportunity to soften and get really, really curious. Why is this so hard to shake? What am I carrying that feels so important here? And a lot of times when we're stuck in a belief or an expectation, it's because that thing, is tethered to something that we hold in high value, that is really aligned with one of our values that we hold dear. And oftentimes it can be associated with something that feels linked to our survival. And again, a lot of this isn't going to make sense to the mind. It's going to be kind of beyond that. It's like, well, that's not, wanting my friend to show up differently in the world isn't going to impact my survival. But because we've created these multi-tiered strategies and oftentimes this house of cards with our belief systems, we can hold on really tightly to them because we're worried that if we start to really look at them, they might fall away and everything might fall apart. And that can often feel terrifying and it can feel life-threatening. It really, really can. And so I really just want to acknowledge that even though the mind or this critic or the analyzer might throw shade on these connections, that when we feel into our body and we've noticed like a sense of relief or relaxation or like a, oh yeah, that makes sense, then that's really our true north, is that body relaxation or that resonance that we feel in our heart when we allow ourselves to touch into what's really here. So, in this season where we're shifting from the fall, which is the season, according to Chinese medicine, the season of the lungs, which is associated with the emotion of grief, we're starting to move into the season of the winter, which is associated with the organs, the kidneys, which is associated with the emotion of fear. And so, really, this coming into this winter season, this dark season, these shorter days, is really a time where we can feel isolated, but it's also a call within. And so, sometimes we can feel isolated because we're not really stepping into the energy of the season. So, that's another thing that you can do is really just notice that call to hibernate, to withdraw, to maybe spend more quiet time, more time alone, more downtime, more rest time. Those are all things that you can do to support your system in moving through this season of darkness with more ease. And also just noticing what's it like to actually open the door and invite fear to sit at the table with me rather than spend so much energy trying to push against those things that maybe frighten us or worry us or have us feeling triggered or threatened. And so, really, just acknowledging the time of year and adjusting our output and behavior and patterns and sleep and eating and all those sort of things so that we actually are really nourishing ourselves in a different way and just nourishing the energy that's actually here. So those are all things that you can do to help kind of create more space. We just had a full moon yesterday, so that's a lot of energy. And then there's a lot of acceleration of completion of patterns and shedding of old ways of being, and it's really accelerating, especially as we move into the end of this calendar year. And so if you're feeling that, I just want to honor and validate that it's here, it's happening, it's not just you, and that we can really again take advantage of knowing that by spending a little bit more active conscious time either in reflection or just maybe hands on heart, 3 breaths, like just noticing what's here for me. And what does that do when I notice to myself, sorry, my dog is agreeing maybe, when I notice and acknowledge to myself that this is really, really important and that this is what I'm feeling and this is part of what's here. So these are my offerings to you on this beautiful November day. And let me know what's going on in your world. Where are you getting stuck? Know that even though you may feel isolated, that you're not alone, that a lot of people are going through a lot of things right now. And that doesn't mean that we should pull away and not burden somebody. It means that there can be a call to connect first with ourselves and then with each other. Because the extent to which you can hold space and compassion for yourself will be the limiting factor or the expansive factor around how much space and compassion you can offer to others. And so, a reminder that when we breathe and acknowledge what's here, the point of that is to move out of this duality of good, bad, right, wrong, and into neutrality, where we can find our center alignment with ease because it's right there and we're not being tugged by so many energetic pulls. And we can really get clear on what is the right next step for me in this moment. So many blessings to you on this beautiful winter's eve, and I will talk to you again soon, but don't hesitate to reach out. Take good care.